Welcome back. Now, women are naturally more caring and more inclusive. Those traits need to be recognized as leadership qualities. Well, that's what Nana Ngobese-Nxumalo said in 2009 when her political party Women Forward was formed. This year, the party is contesting the general election. Ngobese-Nxumalo, who's also Chief Albert Lutuli's granddaughter, joins me in studio for this conversation. Thank you so much, Nana, for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it's quite interesting because when your political party launched, I think it was on the 25th of June in 2008, during the 2009 elections, you guys managed to pick up about 10,000 actual votes.
Yes.
Right? So that says something about the significance of the political party. It's 2019. Why the 10-year gap?
There was no money. I think also the environment was not as conducive as it is now for us to actually take another chance to campaign. And I think what happened in the last 10 years made us realize that what had started in 2009 still had to be done because women leadership had taken a little bit of a backseat. We realized that many things that we complain about, even as women, are things that we can do ourselves. Yeah. And we realized that women leadership is what is necessary sometimes to get some of the things done because we are the ones who struggle most when things are actually not happening, like the water clip that I saw earlier on. I mean, when you see that old lady saying that they run a week without water, you start thinking, we used to have running rivers, what has actually happened, and that is impacted, obviously, by what we have articulated in the manifesto.
Well, your manifesto speaks significantly about how you want the justice system to become more favorable towards women and also address issues around gender violence.
That's right.
But when it comes to other issues, such as, gender parity and women in the workplace and representation and employment equity, are you guys honing in, is the political party honing in on some of those issues that are daily confronted by many women?
Definitely. When we talk about leadership, we talk about it across the board. We're talking about business. We talk about everywhere. I mean, talk about sports, talk about everywhere. I mean, life is also women. Wherever you find life, you have to find women. So they actually have a lot to bring in there. We have seen even with the Caster Semenya issue, how it was actually handled. Think about it, if there were more women in that sports federation, maybe they would have actually handled it differently. So it's very important for women to actually bring in their own traits into leadership because we realize that when men make decisions on their own, obviously women will complain that they were not included, but sometimes we think that there could have been a different way or a different outcome to what would have actually happened had women actually involved themselves. So it doesn't actually stop at political level. More than anything else at this particular point, we're talking about community leadership, which we think is going to make a difference in the long run if actually bring the very same lady who was complaining about water, get more women involved in finding solutions that are suitable for their own areas. Because we have done that for years. I mean, even during the apartheid time, women came together, they found solutions to hunger, to debt. I mean, the environment right now leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah. We didn't live in filthy spaces. I mean, what has actually happened in the past, how many years that we have not taken the baton as women?
Do you think that South Africa has become more or less patriarchal and therefore making the political party or the environment for the political party more or less conducive to actually operate in 2019?
It doesn't happen overnight. Most of the things that you actually end up with, like the patriarchal situation, actually it's insipid. It happens over a long period of time, and then you wake up one day and say, what has gone wrong? And then you start self-introspection and you say, but if I was not part of that, then who am I going to blame for that? I think it's important for us to say as women, we dropped the ball, we thought things were going the right way. Before we knew it, things had actually gone so wrong that we realized,
How have women dropped the ball in your opinion?
In that we have not organized ourselves over the past how many years. We had stockfells that were working very well, not just at the money level, but also at community leadership. I remember when we were growing up, our mothers used to come together, do things in communities, even without money. The money is not the only driver of development. You actually have to have will. This time we realize political will is actually important. But more than anything else, I would actually believe that in the longer term, as we move on, as we move forward, we can actually strike better relationships at rebuilding this country without bringing force, without threatening, let people realize that without proper partnerships at community levels.
Including men, or men allowed?
No, men are allowed, but they actually have to listen more to women's ways of doing things because we are the ones who are impacted most by poverty, the very environment that we say has been depleted, all of those things. And the environment, for me, is one of the key areas where we can actually put in a lot more energy for employment, to make sure that we live in cleaner spaces. Once we remove alien plants, once we deal with the environment, some of the water sources that we see disappearing start coming back, because we have to respect the environment for us to actually benefit from it. We cannot just continue. And I was talking today to some of the ladies about the sanitary pads. I mean, they're doing a factory. They said, you must come and see it. And I said, if it is not environmentally friendly, your products, I think it is pointless for us to actually come there, because
you stand
it's
for
important.
the environment, you stand for the justice system, you stand for women to be represented across social as well as business systems as well.
We stand for land also. We want women to actually have acquisition to land, particularly rural women who, by the traditional way of doing things, are actually being marginalized. I mean,
so how I talked about make that change. And the reason why I'm asking you this is because it's voting season, and
I understand. I understand.
The question really is, why must I, as a woman, and the good thing is I'm sitting here as a black woman on television, so why must I, as a black woman, vote for you? And what is it that you can provide that no other political party can provide in this country?
More than anything else, we provide you with an environment where you are yourself. You contribute. We have young women who actually contribute a lot in the discussions that we actually have, charting the way forward for the party. Most of their voices have actually been silenced in the other parties. Not to say they don't talk, but they're not taken seriously. And Women Forward has created the space where there are no barriers at all. We actually advocate for the ownership. Let me just go to the ownership of land by women. When women own land, they not only own land, not only for the sake of actually having it to their names, they are going to use that to feed their children. We realize that the level of hunger in this country is just too much. Now, what is important is that when women, particularly rural women or women who are at the margins of the society, if that woman owns an acre of land, you know that she's going to do more than that. Yeah. She's going to look after it, because the point about ownership is that you have to be proud. Make sure that your place is what you want to actually make it become. We want to make sure that that woman has land and has access to all the amenities that are going to make it work for her and her family. It's not going to be the fact that a man owns, just like it's actually happening when we go to rural areas. I made that an example where we went to the chief. I was asking if he could give land to some of the ladies who work with us in the office. He said, you must bring a male. And
I actually have to ask you this, because unfortunately our time has run out, but not before I let you go. When I was reading this introduction, the one thing that came out is you're the granddaughter of Chief Albert Luthuli. Have you managed to get out of the shadow of your grandfather to stand as a formidable woman who is a leader in her own right, who's advocating for women and what women should be standing for in this country? Already the intro has put you at a certain level. So I want to know, how have you managed that, to mitigate that we don't call you Chief Albert Luthuli's granddaughter who happens to be a woman?
That only happens 1 in 9 interviews, and I'm happy with that. And I can't run away from that legacy, and I'm grateful for it. I'm learning a lot. I've learned a lot from it. But then what I think Women Forward is doing is to build on what he has actually done. He would have wanted us to speak for the communities. He would have wanted us to make sure that the women who are marginalized actually have somebody who actually says, we are taking the baton forward. So I don't have to run away from it, but I'm glad that over time it's getting less and less, so that I'm able to stand for myself.
All right, Nana, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Shedding some light on. Here we go, ladies. There's a political party that may be of